At the edge of a rural village, a dry stone well sits choked with thorn bushes and debris. Most people avoid the crumbling masonry, but 𝗲𝗀𝗻 saw something in the darkness he had been looking for his entire life, a way to stop working. His friend Rajan had spent years building a predictable life through a steady government job. 𝗲𝗀𝗻, however, viewed a standard career as a life sentence. He preferred to drift between schemes, always searching for the one big break that would mean he'd never have to lift a finger again. That break finally appeared in the form of an old, yellowed newspaper clipping. It described the 𝗪𝗪𝗁𝗂𝗪, a ritual performed at the bottom of a dry well that claimed to grant the practitioner everything they ever desired. The text promised that 5 nights of focused ritual work would result in immense wealth and a life of absolute ease. For 𝗲𝗀𝗻, this was the answer to every problem he had ever faced. He didn't care that the instructions were fragmented or that the source was a cheap tabloid. He assumed that as long as he followed the steps, the results would be his, never considering the danger of handling ancient mechanics he didn't fully understand. The process required 𝗲𝗀𝗻 to physically enter the well. Using a flashlight and a heavy bag of supplies, he lowered himself into the shaft, clearing away years of dirt and rot to prepare the floor for the ritual. The diagram of the floor shows the specific physical requirements: drawing a boundary circle in wood ash, placing a lemon in the center, and driving 3 iron nails into the stone walls to anchor the ritual space. By the 3rd night, the atmosphere changed. The smell of burnt wood filled the well, and the shadows seemed to thicken. On the 5th night, 𝗲𝗀𝗻 sat in total darkness. As he finished the final mantra, the temperature plummeted, and the air became heavy with an unseen presence. A heavy, hollow voice rose from the ground, asking what he sought. 𝗲𝗀𝗻 spoke clearly, requesting money, power, and a life where he would never have to struggle again. The well went silent. 𝗲𝗀𝗻 had successfully completed the physical actions required to wake something up, but the true nature of the agreement he had just entered remained a mystery. The results were immediate. 𝗲𝗀𝗻, who had never won a hand of cards in his life, began a winning streak at local gambling houses that seemed to defy every law of probability. His luck continued to grow. He won multiple lotteries and found himself acting as a broker for massive real estate deals that usually took months to close. For 𝗲𝗀𝗻, everything was finally falling into place without any effort on his part. He moved out of his mother's old crumbling house and built a massive mansion with towering walls and marble floors, filling his massive garage with a sleek luxury car he could finally show off to the whole village. He invited Rajan over to see the new estate, using the servants and the grand dining hall as evidence that his rejection of hard work had been the right choice all along.
This sudden fortune arrived so fast that 𝗲𝗀𝗻 never stopped to look at where it was coming from. He was so busy enjoying the luxury of his new life that he ignored the silence coming from the well. The success lasted only a few months before it began to fail. A major real estate deal he had brokered turned out to be fraudulent, and the new owners held 𝗲𝗀𝗻 personally responsible, demanding he pay back every cent. His luck turned into a series of disasters. Every gamble failed. His bank accounts were frozen, his luxury car was sold, just to pay for basic expenses. The stress began to manifest as a recurring nightmare. Every night he dreamt he was trapped in the well, looking up as the shaft was slowly filled with wet, heavy dirt. The horror soon entered his waking life. In the quiet of his mansion, 𝗲𝗀𝗻 felt the physical sensation of invisible hands tightening around his throat, leaving him gasping for air in the middle of the night. 𝗲𝗀𝗻 was being hunted, and he had no idea why. The same force that had filled his pockets was now turning on him, transforming his home into a place of constant physical terror. Distraught and broken, 𝗲𝗀𝗻 went to Rajan and confessed everything. Recognizing the severity of the situation, Rajan brought him to Baba Gorakhnath, a man who understood the history of these ancient rituals. Baba Gorakhnath examined the well where 𝗲𝗀𝗻 had performed the ritual. He noted the specific patterns in the stone and the lingering smell of decay that had settled at the bottom. The Baba realized the problem immediately. While the newspaper clipping had taught 𝗲𝗀𝗻 how to call the entity, it had left out a critical requirement for keeping that entity satisfied. This calendar shows the 30-day lunar cycle. To keep the entity satisfied, a blood sacrifice must be delivered on the new moon. 𝗪𝗏 missed several nights. Every month he enjoyed his wealth. The entity's hunger grew, stacking into a towering, unpaid debt. In these rituals, ignorance of the rules provides no protection. The force Mithun had awakened was now coming to collect what it was owed. On the night of 𝗪𝗵𝗁, a desperate Mithun returned to the well. He carried a black rooster, hoping that a single sacrifice would be enough to finally appease the entity and end his torment. He cut the rooster's throat and watched the blood hit the floor. But the ground didn't just absorb the liquid, it began cracking under his feet, the soil splintering as something tried to push through. A voice roared from the depths of the earth, telling Mithun that his payment was too late. After months of being ignored, the entity was no longer interested in a bird. Shadowy limbs erupted from the floor of the well, wrapping around Mithun's legs. Before he could call out for help, they pulled him under, dragging him down into the darkness beneath the stone. The well was silent once again. By pursuing a life of ease through a ritual he didn't understand, Mithun finally discovered that some paths carry a price that can't be paid with money.